So we're here today. I got a project I've wanted to do for quite some time, so I decided I'd pull it out and we'll do it on a cold Saturday when I don't have much else going on today. I got to go to the grocery store, but other than that, I don't have much going on. And so what we're going to do is do one of these books, like a book of spells. Here's one that I started. I'm not finished with. It's got buckles and it's got straps. It's got old pages. So one of the first ones that I did, this is a great project because everybody seems to enjoy it when I do it. When I teach it, they love it. When I show or demo or whatever, show the product at a show, people love it. Here's one of the first ones I did. Maybe you can see the mistake I made, maybe you can't. But if this is truly a book of spells, and you got to open up these leather straps, where the heck is the buckle? I left off the buckle. So I'm going to use the story of this is truly a book of magic because you have to use magic to get it open because there's no way to get it open. One of the other ones that I did not too long ago, this was a really neat one that I did. I did it when I was teaching kids class. They were all into D&D, so I did a D&D book where it has the pages, has the straps, has the buckles, and it has a wizard face in the corner on one of the spines. So I actually did a couple of those where they're fun to do. It's relatively easy to do this. There's nothing real completely difficult about it. It's open to your interpretation and your imagination. So I'm going to start off with a piece of wood. And I apologize, I got a piece of wood that I started on because I didn't realize I didn't hit record on the computer. Anyway, this is where we're at. I made straps. I drew the straps over here. And it doesn't matter how thick you make the straps. You can make them as thick or as thin as you want. And there's the strap. It goes all the way around one side to one spine, or this is the front of it. This is if you're looking at that book, here's the pages here. Then you flip it over, there's the back, and then you flip it over, and there's the corner where we're going to put a face on that corner right there. And then we're back to the front where you can put whatever design you want in here. I'm going to be using a few tools. This doesn't require a whole lot of tools. I use primarily a fishtail gouge of several different brands simply because when one goes dull, I can just grab another one. Here's a Drake. Probably one of the oldest tools I've ever had, and it still works very well. Here's a flex cut. Here's a stubite, and here's a real small file. These range from a 1/4 inch over here on this one to about 7/8 on this one. I think this one's 3/4, and I think this one's 7/8, and this one's 3/8. And they're a fishtail gouge, so look for a number 3. These you can get from Drake Knives up in Washington. Online, call them online or email them and they'll get it for you. Flex cut you can find just about anywhere, and I like the flexibility of the tool. Flexes more than anything else. I really like the stubite. It's heavy and it'll take off a lot of stuff. Call Chris Willick up at Woodcarver's Wood Shack. I knew I'd screw that up. Whittling Shack, and Chris will get you those and send them right to you. And in the file, you can find them in several different places. I think one of the places local to me is Treeline USA. They sell files down there, I think. We're also going to use a couple of V-tools. Sometimes I use a great big one, and I have a great big file tool. This one is a stubite. 2 little ones. There's a 39 and a 41. And then I'll use a couple of knives. I like to use, for this project, I like to use ones that are short and thick. I'm not sure why it's not focusing in on it, but short and thick is what I like to use. So I started on this, and so I'm just going to continue on this, and I'll tell you what I did along the way because I don't want to restart again, even though it's my mistake. What I did was took my board, and I measured around. So this is 4 inches across and 5 inches tall, roughly. I think that one's a little bit smaller. Anyway, I'm going to draw some lines. Here's some lines I drew on one of them. And I want to make sure this strap, the lines match up all the way around. Have a notion of where you're going to have the front of the book open. So mine here's the front page, or front cover, and here is the side where I'm going to have the pages sticking below the cover. Here, and here. And then here's the spine where I'm going to carve. And so this one that I showed you, but I didn't tell you about it. This one has buckles on this side right here where the pages are. And this one has buckles over here where the pages are not. And so if this was truly a book of spells here, I undid the buckles and I peeled it back, well then now I've got all of this I got to pull off because that's the front. And it's going to be attached to this, and it's just going to, you have to peel all these back so that you can get the book open. So I screwed up on that one. It's not the first time I screwed up. It ain't the first time I screwed up today. But anyway, draw your lines and make sure they connect all the way around. So this line connects here all the way around until you come back. So make sure those 4 lines match up. They go across here where the pages are. So you're going to have to leave some room and know that this level is going to be below the level of the strap. The straps are the thing that sticks out the furthest. And so everything else is going to go below that. And I'll show you how to do that. I usually start by putting on my safety gear. Please make sure you use all the safety gear that you need. I have had a lot of my friends, including myself, and I haven't had a serious cut while I was carving, but if you know me, you know that I lost a few fingers a few years back in a table saw accident, and that's the reason I don't have a table saw anymore, and I get by without it. But anyway, take care of your fingers, take care of your hands, take care of your body, and wear safety gear. I always wear a safety glove. I rarely ever carve without a safety glove unless I'm carving away from me. In addition, I add these fingertips. So the fingers that you get from these rubber garden gloves that you buy for, there's a packet of 8 of them for $12 or whatever they are. I cut the fingers off and use them on the thumbs. I don't get a full set of them because the ones that are the little finger and the ring finger are usually really tight on your thumbs or your fingers. So I don't use those. They have a tendency to cut off the blood. In addition, I add some Coban or vet wrap. It gives me 3 layers of protection that I want. And since I've been carving like this, I've rarely ever had even a nick or a slice or anything. First thing I want to do is find these straps. I've already marked them. I want to carve around and make them indented. So I'm just going to take my short, this is a pine wood forged knife and I like it. It's 1.5 inches. Dell Stubbs will make them for you. I'm just going to go deep and make sure I stay in that groove. I don't want a lot of cuts way over here. I want to cut straight in that groove. So I'm going to do it about 3 or 4 times. I usually like to lay it down here at the end so I don't come snapping off like that, because I just don't need to make herky-jerky movements when I'm carving. So I'm going to carve in the point of the knife. I'm going in about 1/8 of an inch to start with. Eventually I'll be as deep as 1/4, maybe not even quite that much. But anyway, I make those cuts, and this just takes putting the knife in the groove and pulling it to you. There's no finesse here yet. So right now and for a while, we'll be hogging some wood out just so we can get where we need to go. Flip it over, and I'm going to do the same thing in both of these. Don't worry if you get a little bit off. You got to realize this is a medieval, old world fantasy book. It's not going to look pristine like you just got it out of Barnes and Noble. It's going to look ragged. It's going to be one of those, if it's truly a book of spells, it's been passed down from one magician or one witch to another. And so these are the rough parts. There's not a lot of fancy stuff here yet. I always tell my students, don't try to be perfect. Perfection is the enemy of completion. If you're going into this thinking I need to be perfect, as far as caricature carvings go, I've seen some good, really good ones. I've never seen perfect ones. And that's because most of us as caricature carvers aren't aiming for perfection. We're aiming for done. So we don't care about the perfection, we care about the done. And if you're like me, you do a lot of carving, and sometimes you do shows, and sometimes you do competitions, and sometimes you just give them away. Just know that you don't have to be perfect when you're doing this part, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do, I will eventually do that with the with the knife in this groove where the pages are. But the next thing I want to do is just start chipping away. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from a flat space into where that strap is. So I'm just coming in here. Make sure that when your tool hits the wood on the other side of the cut, that it's not slamming into it and making deep grooves, because that means you got a lot to clean up. It's just a matter of coming in here and taking out the wood, taking out the piece of the book that goes under the strap. And so don't get in a hurry, because you'll be using a lot of strength when you do, and you're just going to tear it up. Which is okay if your job here is just to cut and carve and tear up wood. That's okay. Sometimes there's a certain great feeling of just making a toothpick out of a tree. So you can see where I'm getting there, getting up under that piece of wood, just making short, stiff cuts right now. So I'm just trying to outline the straps, not taking a lot of wood off. Not doing a lot of deep cuts. If you feel better doing this with a knife, knock yourself out. It's a long stretch when you take your knife from this end here and you're trying to cut that out. So you got a long stretch of carving here, and I just find it easier to use my fishtail gouge. I have 4 of them because I like the brands and I like the tools, I like the manufacturers. But the reality is, the truth of it is, when this one goes a little bit dull, I don't have to jump up and go sharpen it, hone it. I'll come in here with another one. And it's not a big deal. And I've shown you how I sharpen on some of my videos. So go back and look at some of those. I couldn't tell you which ones they are because I don't keep a tab on them. I got 150 something or 140 something videos out there right now. As of today, I think I got 150. I think I just went over 150 today. I put in a video on carving a cowboy bottle stopper. I think that's number 150. I'll have to double check. But anyway, I couldn't tell you where an individual segment was, especially if it's not related to the carving that I'm doing that in that video. I couldn't tell you. So if I give you a tip, sometimes I put a tip out there on my channel, and other times I just embed them in whatever I'm doing because it's appropriate to do it at that time. So again, not much to this. We're gonna take both sides of it down. There's one side, there's the other. We would do the back and the front the same way, and then we start getting a little more. Let me show you how that stew-by works while I got it out. This one's thicker, so it makes a thicker cut. I love that sound. I don't know about y'all, but I love that sound. I grew up in the South, and there's a few sounds I remember from when I was a kid, like rain on a hot tin roof or whatever, but this is one of those sounds that just really is a real pleasure to listen to, especially if you're the one creating it. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I don't want to make this video an hour long of you watching me just make these cuts. Go ahead and finish those up. And make those cuts on both sides of the strap, because right now we're just doing the inside. We've not done the outside. But it's the exact same process on the outer edge of the book. We're just going to go in here and go right up to that strap. And when you're doing this, I'm going to leave you all in the video here in just a few minutes. When you do that, you want to make sure it's fairly flat. You don't want a lot of humps in here. So I got a hump right here where that edge is where I started cutting. There's one here, there'll be one here, same here. Just try to smooth this out as flat as you can, but don't make it sanding smooth. You don't want it polished. This is an old leather book. And when you get to that point, do both sides of the strap. Stay away from this part right here where the book is, because what we're going to do is the strap is going to stick out farther than the book is. So it's going to wrap around the strap. We're not going to make it pinch in like it's pinching the book and leaving an indentation there. We're going to make it so it's fairly flat around. I'm going to leave this side alone for quite some time, because whatever I got here, I kind of want that to look like that face is coming out of this corner. So by the time you come back to part 2, you should have all of this stuff carved in to where it's flat. Let me grab one here. So you want it so I hope you can see that, so that the strap sticks above the plane of the book. The strap is the highest thing on the book, and then the straps are going to go in there too. And so you want to cut up to it and cut down to it on the inside. I would leave the back spine where we're going to do the face. I'd leave that alone and come in here and cut those out. And then we'll address these at another time. You notice that I don't get too deep on them, but we'll get to that point as well. And then we'll get to where we're starting to shape the book all the way around where the pages are. All right, I'm going to end the video right here. We'll see you in part 2.